Welcome back. Happy Diwali. Today's topic is forward price curves. In the last lecture, we have seen about Black-Scholes model of predicting electricity prices, and we have seen how electricity prices are very volatile in nature. And today's class, we will discuss about forward prices and forward curves of electricity. And I hope that by the completion of this lecture, you will be able to describe the factors which are to be considered for constructing forward price curves. Moving ahead, I'll start with what actually is a forward curve and what actually forward curves are for commodities and how they will be drawn for electricity. And we will see about construction of forward curves. We'll start with the classification based on time frame, and we will see what are the factors which are to be considered based on the time frame. And we will have a quick discussion on the hourly price forward curve. Now, coming to the start of what actually is a forward price curve, we know that in particular in restructured power markets, the suppliers are competing very hardly to reach end-to-use customers with the lowest possible price which can guarantee profits. Now let us suppose if there are two GENCOs, A1 and A2, and if there is one DISCOM, so these two people will be competing, right? Let us suppose if his cost of generation is 4 rupees and his cost of generation is 3 rupees. Initially he will start at 5 rupees. Let us suppose if he goes down to 4 rupees, then immediately he will come down to 4.2 or 4.1 or even to 4.01 also, isn't it? The GENCOs are competing a lot to reach this end-use customers, to gather the contracts with the lowest possible prices, such that it would benefit guarantee the profits. Otherwise, if it goes less than 3.5 or so, both of them they will not get any profit. So that's why they won't go beyond that one. But they will try to provide, they will try to get contracts with the lowest possible profits which they can get. And winning this particular customer's contract is generally based on pricing strategies which are generally followed by the generating companies. And in particular, they will follow the market trends and the information. Say, winning a customer's contract is generally based on pricing strategies that would consider electricity market trends and the information on the true cost of serving customers. Because the true cost involves transmission cost and other supplies also. We have seen in the last unit also that there may be some ancillary services, etc. So all these will be counted in the true costs. And in particular, the forward price of electricity is the key in pricing retail and wholesale industry. And the forward price curves, they represent a good starting criterion to price electricity. And if properly utilized with experience in knowing variations in customer characteristics and supply demand situations, they can offer us very good hedging strategies for different market participants. Just like our commodity markets, we can also invest them and we can gain profits. It will be beneficial for suppliers, buyers, marketers, brokers, etc. Each and everyone can benefit from these electricity markets. So, in particular, what actually are the forward price curves for commodities? Forward price curves, or what we call it as futures contract forward curve, is prices being plotted as a function of the amount of time between now and the expiry date of the futures contracts, with the spot price being the price at time zero. The forward curve represents a term structure of prices. This is what they are in the slide. So let's see what actually it is forward price curves. Let us suppose today is today is 25th, right? So today is 25th on the timeline. I'll write 2510 and this is 25 next month and this is 2512 and this is up to 22 and this is 25/1/23 and this is 25/2/23 and yeah, there will be, this is the time and this is the price. So this what we call it as a forward. If you carefully see, the starting point will be the current date and this will be extending into the future, which means that this is the price of that particular commodity at this point of time. If you want delivery of this particular commodity at this point of time, this is the price which you need to pay right now. This is the concept of forward curve. Now the same thing, if you carefully see what are the futures of this particular one, what we call it as price forward curve. We call them as price forward curve. What to do if you have seen that one, right? The curves may be sometimes increasing, sometimes may be decreasing. It depends upon the availability of the commodity in the future. So if you carefully see what are the important features of this particular market. Transporting commodities is costly and time consuming, right? So maybe in the next future, after 1 year, if I want to buy the product, so I want to invest on that one. So transporting commodities is costly and time consuming. And also, if you transport it and then sell it, and after that, if a person buys it, he may not be having any option to store that commodities. And in particular, electricity storage is exclusively very expensive, right? And most of the times here commodities will be showing a strong seasonality. And in particular, electricity shows very strong seasonality, right? Because of the problems with availability of fuel and also the load conditions. So these things are a little bit risky. Now, moving ahead with forward curves of electricity, it is just like similar to the other commodities. We can say that it represents a set of forward prices for electricity. It determines a set of current market prices for the sale of electricity. As I've already shown that on the time scale you will be having time, and here you will be having quantity. And this particular curve, it determines the present value of electricity to be delivered in the future. And the biggest challenge to draw these curves is the limited and inappropriate data which we do have. Unlike the other commodities, oil and gas, which are extensively used in futures market, electricity, it is still difficult for us to plot a proper forward curve. See, these are the electricity spot and forward curves. If you carefully see. Now, how to draw these curves now? Normally, these curves are basically classified based upon the time frame in which you are building. Normally, these price curves can be extended for a few months or a few years or over several years. So whenever you are predicting the forward prices or future prices of a particular commodity, what the components which you will be thinking of? You will be thinking about the supply and demand of that particular commodity in the nearby future, isn't it? So if the demand is high and the supply is more in the future, then automatically the price may go up. Or in the future, if the demand may decrease, then automatically the prices may decrease. So this is a simple equation about how we frame the future prices. And importantly, what are the major factors which we need to consider whenever we are fixing up forward curves? As we have seen that they can be extended for a few months or a few years. So let us suppose if we are thinking about drawing a future curve for a few months. So what we will be thinking of? We will be thinking about only a shorter duration or a 6 months period or a 12 months period. So in this 12 months period, what can be the changes in weather? And we will think of whether there can be any supply outages or there may be any interregional power flows like that. But if we think about a longer duration, maybe of 10 years or 20 years, then we need to think about in these 20 years, will the population increase? Will the load increase? Or maybe in the future, if renewable energy comes into picture, or maybe there may be shortage of coal or fuel, or maybe how the customers will respond, whether they will develop their own distributed generation plants, etc. So like that, based upon our thinking process, based upon our prediction of demand and supply, we will be drawing this future curves. And in particular, electricity, Construction of forward curves, even though the age of restructuring is still short, the historical spot prices can be used to model the forward price projections or forecasts. And as time passes, modeling forward prices will be improved by incorporating current market data. So we can try it. So in particular, what we should consider fuel cost, weather patterns, supply outages, transmission outages, regulatory developments, and any other factors which do affect the electricity prices. So a person who has very good knowledge about all these things and how these vary over a period of time can defaultly plot this forward course. And in particular, the two important things, once again I'm repeating, supply and demands. Based upon the balance of supply and demand only, the electricity prices will be decided. And the hourly price forward curve, which is most important, extensively employed, which we call it as HPFC. It is a construction of a forward curve at a resolution exceeding that known to the market and is as such able to capture the seasonality of the electricity spot prices. This we will discuss in detail in the class. So the construction of HPFC can be based upon two important approaches. One is a statistical approach, which examines how spot prices have been varied in the past, and also a fundamental model, which suggests that the price is set purely by supply and demand. A dynamic model, which exclusively depends upon supply and demand. And I hope that you have understood now what is the forward price and what is the need for that. If you are properly able to plot a forward price curve, then automatically you can invest in the electricity markets, derivative markets. And you have seen what are the factors which are to be considered for constructing forward price curves. We'll discuss them in detail in the class today. Okay. Thank you and see you in the class.